Hi, my name is Tina, and this is Knitting Blooms. In this episode, I provide a recap of the last few weeks. I talk about my whips, including a new project that I started, and I share my stash enhancement from my trip to Maryland Sheep and Wool. I also talk about upcoming events and an app that I have been enjoying lately. There is also talk of a new read-along, and last but certainly not least, there are some drawings. Check out the credits at the end of the show to find out how you can get in touch with me. I really enjoy hearing from each and every one of you, so don't hesitate to contact me if you have a question or comment. Hi everybody, thanks so much for joining me today. As always, I am happy to be sharing my time with you today, and I'm happy that you're taking the time to share your time with me as well. It's been a while since I've recorded. I was supposed to record a regular episode last week, but I had a bit of a stressful week at work, and when Thursday rolled around, which has become my normal recording day, I was just not feeling up to recording. So I decided to put it off a week. And normally when I am scheduled to record and I'm not feeling up to recording, I have a tutorial or something to post in place of a regular recording, but I didn't have anything pre-prepared, and at that point I was just not in the position to do any sort of recording last week. I did start to do a book review, but I didn't get it quite finished in time, and I didn't get it all polished off before Saturday, so I just decided to hold off on that end and finish it up the proper way. But anyway, this week has been a lot better week. Last week we were down one person at the office, and actually we're still down one person at the office, but I think we've kind of compensated for it. We figured out how things are going to work now, and it's a little less stressful. And actually this week one other person was out sick, which I thought was going to be a little crazy, but it all worked out, and this week has been a lot less stressful. And it could be because work has been a little bit less stressful, but also I've been playing a bit of Sims this week again. I know I go in spurts with The Sims, but I have been playing pretty much every single day. And that is quite a bit of a stress reliever for me, and so that's been fun. I know that I also work out, which is also a stress reliever, but for some reason sometimes exercise does not help relieve my stress. But playing Sims, it kind of does, mostly because I'm just playing my game. I don't have to be productive in any other way. I just can sit there and watch the game and play the game and control the Sims and laugh at things that they do and just enjoy it. In fact, Steve and I were watching a show the other day, and I was playing while we were watching, and I have a Sim whose husband passed away, and now she was remarried, but I kept the urn from the husband, the dead husband, in the house, which means that usually I think it's like between 3 and 6 a.m. or something like that, around that time, the ghost comes out of the urn and, goes around the house and does different things. And then the other Sims, the live Sims, can actually interact with the ghost if they so choose. So I had my Sim interacting with her husband's ghost, and then I had her flirting with him and all this. So it was kind of funny that I was having her flirt with her ghost husband. I thought it was pretty funny. Steve thought I was a little nuts, but it was something fun to do. I wanted to see what would happen, because usually what will happen is if you're flirting with somebody else and your husband is in, or your husband or your lover or whoever is in the same house or the same lot, they will come running and be all upset about what's going on. Even if they're sleeping, they can have this like sixth sense or something about you you know, cheating on them or something. But for some reason, because it was with her dead husband, I guess it didn't matter because the current husband did not come running and stomping their foot or anything like that. But that was pretty funny. Anyway, so needless to say, since there has been a lot of sim play this week, there hasn't been a whole lot of knitting. However, I did start a new project, which I will show you today. And I've talked about it before, but we'll get to that when I get to the knitting. But yeah, not much knitting, but I do have a lot to share with you this week. I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool 2 weekends ago now. It seems like just yesterday. And I had a really great time at Maryland Sheep and Wool. I had planned on being there both days. And as it turned out, I was only there on Saturday. I was there for most of the day on Saturday. I got there right around 9 o'clock and met up with some friends first thing in the morning, and we kind of hung out all morning, and then we kind of parted ways around lunchtime. And you know, my mom was supposed to come with me the entire time, but she wasn't feeling well in the morning, so she ended up staying home in the morning and then coming to the festival after lunch. She was feeling a little bit better after lunch. So I met up with my mom after lunch, and we did some shopping. And by 3 o'clock, I was worn out. And we had kind of seen everything that my mom wanted to see. So we headed on out. And it was kind of a good thing because there wasn't a lot of places to sit down unless you brought your own chair. And there wasn't a lot of shade. And as little that I was outside, you know, for the podcaster meetup, from walking from barn to barn, you know, sitting down for a few minutes here and there, I ended up getting sunburn. Not really bad, but enough that I could notice that I was starting to burn when I was in the sun. So I think that was another reason why my mom and I just kind of hurried through the last bit of the booths and took off about 3 o'clock. But we really enjoyed our time together. It just seems like whenever I visit my mom, it's like go, go, go. I mean, because we always have this list of things we want to do, things that we need to do, and it just, we're constantly going. And because it was such a short trip, the first 3 days that I was there, we were running our errands, doing our different things. You know, she had things that she wanted to get my opinion on while I was there, you know, that sort of thing. So we got all those things done. And then by Sunday, which we had planned to go back to the festival on Sunday, but by Sunday, after, you know, 4 days of constant running, we were tired. So Sunday we pretty much sat in front of the TV with our knitting, our iPads, and just watched TV and knit and just played games on our iPad all day. In fact, my niece came up, you know, in the morning. She came up and, you know, had breakfast or whatever, and then she went out with some friends, came back several hours later, and she asked us as soon as she walked in the door, she says, "Have you guys moved from that spot?" And we're like, nope. And we really didn't. I mean, we sat there all day, but we were exhausted. We had a busy week. But we had a great time, and I really enjoyed spending that time with my mom and seeing the kids and whatnot. And while I was there, one of the things that my mom and I did, or that I had my mom do, was she picked out a batch of more shawls for me to knit for her. She ended up giving me a whole bunch of lace weight yarn. She said she didn't think she would ever knit it. And I said, well, let's pick some shawls that I can knit for you, and I'll just knit it up in your yarn. So on Sunday, that was one of the things that we did on Sunday, was we went through Ravelry. We did we set up some searches on Ravelry for lace weight yarn and, you know, shawls and whatnot. She went through and picked out a few of them. And after she picked out like 6 lace weight shawls, on my way home, as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, that's a lot of lace. I'm thinking, I'm going to need a break between lace. So then I had her go back and look at some of the other shawls that were fingering weight, so I could have a little bit of a break between some lace. But I do have a few planned out already. I don't know when I'm going to get the first one started, because I have been working on pretty much focusing on one project at a time, and I really like that. So right now, when I get to showing you my new project that I started, I would like to get mostly finished on that project before I start another shawl. But I'll get to that in a little bit too. What else? I think that's about it for this week. It just seems like it's been forever since I talked to you, and then, you know, the stressful week and whatnot. And then this weekend, I'm pretty much going to have a day to myself on Saturday. Steve is going to pick up a motorcycle trailer. So he's going to be gone for a good part of the day on Saturday. And so I think I'm going to knit and play Sims, and I will probably record a couple tutorials to get some of those at least banked up a little bit, so that if I do have another crazy week and I can't record at the last minute, I have something to post for you guys. So that is my week in review. I do want to mention that I am looking for another podcast sponsor. I'm not sure if Barmaids is going to renew their sponsorship, but I wanted to throw it out there. I am going to be contacting Barmaids to see if they did want to renew their sponsorship, but I did want to throw it out there and let you guys know that I am looking for sponsors for the 2014-2015 year. So if you are interested in sponsoring the podcast in any way, shape, or form, either by doing donations for drawings, or if you want to post your own commercial on the show, or if you want to do a monetary donation, let me know, and we'll work out the details, you know, based on what you'd like to do for sponsoring the show, and you know, to either to get advertising for your own business or what have you. So get in contact with me if you are interested in sponsoring Knitting Blooms this year. So let's talk about the knitting. Now, before I talk about my whips, I want to mention some of the projects that have kind of been languishing, that haven't been worked on really at all. I do still have a couple of snuggles that I had knit up on the knitting machine that still need the crocheted edge. I haven't really worked on those. I'd like to get those done, because one of the things that I'd like to do this weekend is record a tutorial for the snuggle and also a hat on the knitting machine. For those of you that have knitting machines or might be interested in getting a knitting machine to do charity knitting. So I'd like to get those snuggles finished up. I have two of them that are already done that just need the crochet border around them. And then, like I said, I would like to make some hats on the knitting machine this weekend as well. The sock yarn blanket hasn't had any love recently. In fact, I think I did do a couple of squares at Knitopia, but that's about it. I'm not near finished with the row yet. And Sammy's log cabin blanket has gotten no love. Now, I might be almost done with it. I'm not making it the huge size that the pattern calls for, because obviously it's for Sammy. Sammy is the cat. She does not need a big blanket. In fact, the snuggle that I made that was like a prototype is like, I want to say it's like 18 inches square almost, maybe a little bit larger. And let me tell you, my cats love that thing. I just lay it out on the couch and they lay on it all the time. I have to constantly be throwing it in the washer because they get cat hair all over it. But I just lay it out there and all of them use it. And it's just a tiny little thing. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the yarn. But yeah, it's crazy. So I think I'm probably getting close to being done with Sammy's log cabin blanket, because I think it's a pretty decent size. I don't have it here to show you today. but I think it's a pretty decent size, and so I'm not sure. I might be ending that soon. The other thing is my featherweight socks, the yarn that I made my featherweight cardigan, I'm making a pair of socks with. I have been moving right along with those. I am close to the, on one of the socks, I am right at the point where I just need to add the ribbing. And on the second sock, I'm almost to the point where I need to add the ribbing at the top of the sock. It's been a slow progress because I haven't really been doing a lot of knitting lately, and I haven't been working on that project. Also, the Marley's Garden mitts, the fingerless mitts, the colorwork mittens that I started when we did our colorwork mitten knit along earlier this year, or maybe that was last year. I can't remember. It was either late last year or I think it was late last year. I can't remember. Whenever we did the last colorwork mitten knit along, I started the Marley's Garden. And I started it once, and I had changed the pattern a little bit, and then it ended up not working out the way I wanted, so I started again using the actual pattern, and I think I'm going to end up frogging that mitt. I only started one, but I think I'm just not into the way that the colors, there's not enough contrast. I have a bright green and a cream color at the base of the mitten, and I'm just not feeling the love with that color combination. So I think I might be frogging those mitts, and then possibly starting another pair. You know, I like the pattern. It's not the pattern, it's the colors that I chose. And the only reason I chose those colors is because I already had that yarn dyed up, and it was already in cakes. That was probably the bad way to choose which yarn to use. Don't choose based on what's already in cakes and what you have dyed. That's a lesson learned. But those are probably going to get frogged as well. So let's talk about the projects that I did work on. And last time I mentioned that I thought I would have my little big shrug completed by this time, by this episode. Actually, it was supposed to be completed by last week. And guess what? It was completed, but here it is. And you might notice that it looks pretty blocked out because I blocked it. I actually finished the shawl, cast off, blocked it, and went to sew up the sides, you know, because it's just basically a long rectangle with a little bit of shaping. Went to sew the sides up. This is one of the edges. And pinned it, got it all set, ready to sew up, and I thought, well, let me try it on just to make sure that I didn't know how much I wanted to seam up the arm, because the pattern was kind of vague. My thought from the pattern was pretty much seam up just this much from the tip of the cuff to right here. And I'm thinking, that's an awful long, I mean, because it goes to my wrist. I'm thinking that's an awful long way for it to be open underneath my arm. So I was going to seam up a little bit further down. So like I said, I pinned it with interlocking stitch markers, and I pinned both sides, and then I put it on. And I'm glad I did, because it was too short. When I worked on it, I had stretched it, you know, it says something like, knit till you have so many inches and stretch it, and I don't know. The pattern is a little vague, so they don't really tell you like how many repeats or whatever. And I did measure my arm, my span, and I thought I had enough, and when I blocked it, I thought I had it even a little bit longer than what I thought I needed. But apparently measuring your arms when your arms are straight out is not a good way to measure for something like this. I did have my mom measure when my arms were kind of in the front a little bit, and that was about 4 inches longer, but I think I really needed it like 8 inches longer or 10 inches longer than my regular wingspan. Needless to say, it's back on the needles. I ripped out the section because if you look at this edge, you have ribbing. Here's some ribbing, and then you have a section of where you have increases, and then you start the pattern. And that's the right side. And so I had to rip back all this section here back to the pattern and then get it back on the needles. And I will tell you that I had to be very careful while doing that, because at one point while I was still working the pattern, I had done the stitch incorrectly somehow, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to drop down those stitches and fix it. Not as easily done as it is said. Is that right? Anyway, so needless to say, I ended up having to tink back about 4 rows because I was not able to fix those 2 stitches, and as I was trying to fix them, things were going a little haywire. So I did not want to risk ripping the needles out, because normally what I'll do is I'll just take the needles right out of the knitting and then rip it back and then put the needles back in. But I was noticing that because this is a fingering weight yarn and these yarn overs, it was not playing well, and those yarn overs were dropping very easily. So I did not want to risk losing my entire project. So I did tink back 4 rows to fix the problem that I created when I dropped down the stitches, but then I continued knitting. So when I ripped it back, what I did was I was very careful, and I paid close attention to when I needed to stop ripping back, and then I slowly did the last row, so I could make sure that I didn't have a problem. So it is back on the needles. And I don't know if you'll be able to tell. I can tell a lot more now that I have it blocked, but you can see, at least on the camera, I can see the somewhat of a striping effect that this yarn has, because it is hand-dyed yarn, and it was 2 separate skeins. So one skein is significantly lighter. And when I soaked it before I blocked it, I did notice that the water was quite gray. So I'm wondering if one of the skeins, the lighter skein, may not have had the color set entirely properly. I'm not sure. But I do have a bit of a striping, and I really didn't notice it so much when I was knitting it. But yeah, I really do notice it now. Not that it makes a difference, because I did have the forethought to alternate skeins. So it's going to look fine. It's going to just have a little stripe to it. But I did start re-knitting. I think I've only done a couple of rows. But I did not use the yarn that I had already knit, because if you look at this, you see how squiggly that is? That was the yarn. It's not going to focus for me. That was the yarn that I pulled out. So what I did was I just broke my yarn and then used the rest of the ball, because I still had quite a bit left in the balls. So my plan is to knit at least 2 more full repeats. I think I made notes. I hope I made notes. I think it's two full repeats left. It was about this much, about 4 to 6 inches longer. So, and you know what? If I have to rip it back again to fix it again, it's not going to be that big of a deal. But it is back on the needles, and hopefully I will get that done this week, so that I can get back to my new project, which I'm going to show you now, right before I catch my yarn in my zipper here. So let's put that one over here, and I have my new project, which is the Nantucket Red. Now, I've talked about this sweater for a few months now, I think. I mentioned it before Knitopia because I wanted to start it at Knitopia, and it never got started. But it is started now. And the reason I wanted to start it at Knitopia was because It's the fiber from Knittopia 2013. It's the fiber that I spun into yarn to make a sweater from Knittopia 2013. And I have it in my Knittopia 2013 bag. So it's like perfect. Anyway, so let me show you the swatch. Here's the swatch. And it's just, actually this is the fabric that I'm going to be using. And it's just going to be a simple stockinette sweater with a little detail. And I'll post a picture of the sweater. But it's just mostly, this is the back that I'm working on. And it's mostly stockinette with this little lace panel, the simple lace panel in the center of the back. And it's a very simple pattern. I probably will not have to look at the pattern in order to do this. Although I think I'm going to try and keep track of how many rows I do, although it should be pretty easy to count my rows as well, because I want to make sure that my fronts equal my backs, or equal my back. But I have started this. I started this after I finished the Little Big Shrug while I was blocking, and then I kind of had to put this back on hold because I'd really like to get that done. Before I went to my mom's, I was focusing on one shawl at a time, and they were like flying off the needles, and I really liked that feeling. So I kind of want to keep that momentum going with my projects and continue to focus on one project at a time so that I can complete them more quickly, or at least it will seem more quickly, since they get done quicker because that's the only project I'm working on. But there's my Nantucket Red, and I'm loving my yarn. I mean, it's so gratifying when you have spun fiber into yarn and then you can make a sweater with it. It's so exciting. I'm very excited to start spinning for another sweater, but honestly, I need to knit this one first before I do that, just in case I need to make some adjustments to my spinning. I think I just dropped something on the floor. I'll have to look for that in a minute. So that's all my knitting this week. And there has been probably no spinning. I think I spun for a little bit the week before I left for Maryland Sheep and Wool, but nothing to write home about. I do want to get back to my spinning, but it's very difficult to spin and play Sims at the same time. Yeah, so that's probably not going to happen unless I put the Sims away for a while. But I'm really enjoying the Sims right now, so we're going to go with that. So I have some stash enhancement to show you this week. I know I should not have been buying yarn, but I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, so how could I not buy yarn? Now, I did buy some yarn before I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, but we won't even go into that, what I bought at the Webb's anniversary sale or the sale on Deborah Norville at Hirschner's. No, we won't even talk about that. I have 2 big boxes of stuff from Webb's and from Hirschner's. But most of the stuff that I bought from Webb's, oh well, let me put it this way. All of the stuff I bought from Webb's is either for a gift or for charity knitting. No, I take that back. I think I did buy 1 skein of yarn for myself from Webb's. So it's either, but other than that, everything else I bought from Webb's was for gifts or charity knitting or for tutorials. And almost everything that I bought from Hirschner's was for charity knitting or maybe my log cabin blanket. But we won't go into that. And I have bought some other miscellaneous sock yarn in the last 2 months, just because I've seen people with the colorways I think there was one skein that Kagi TM had that I ended up ordering, and another skein of this very bright kind of fluorescent color yarn that looked really fun. So I did buy that. It hasn't been posted to Ravelry, so even if you go out to my Ravelry page, you won't see any new stuff out there yet. In fact, I still have a whole storage ottoman full of yarn. I took pictures of it before I left for Maryland Sheep and Wool, but it never made it to Ravelry yet. So maybe I'll be working on that on Saturday as well, while Steve is off on his little road trip to get his trailer. Anyway, I did do some shopping. Now, I think it was on Friday. No, it must have been Thursday. I can't remember. Thursday before Maryland Sheep and Wool, my mom and I went to her favorite knitting shop, which I think is called Sew Original. I texted her yesterday to ask her what it was, but she must not have gotten that text message. Anyway, so we went to Sew Original. I think that's the name, and I'll post it in the show notes if I find out it was different. And I was not planning on buying anything. We just wanted to go to the shop. It was her local yarn shop, and she really likes the little shop, and they're very helpful and whatnot. So we just wanted to stop in and check it out. Well, they had a sample, and samples always get me. When I go into yarn shops or when I'm shopping at a festival in a booth that has samples, they always get me. I always see the sample. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous. You know, what yarn is this? I always have to know what yarn it is, what pattern it is, and most of the time I end up getting the yarn and the pattern. Well, this sweater was the ruched yoke tee, and it was the cutest little summer sweater, and they had it done up in collage corntastic. And I was ready to buy the yarn for this sweater. And we went over to where they had that yarn, and they only had like about a half a dozen colors. And most of the colors that they had, they only had 2 or 3 skeins. Now, this is a summer sweater, so you don't need that many skeins, but for this particular sweater, you needed 10 skeins because the yarn was only 100 yards a skein. So I was really bummed about that. I could not get any of that particular yarn, and I just kept going back to the sweater the sample that they had knit up, and saying, "Oh, I just want to make this in that yarn." Anyway, so they did not have that yarn, but I did find another yarn that I think will be okay for it, for the sweater. And this is what I got. I got Cascade Ulta Pima Cotton. And it is just a regular, basic kind of beigey color. I figure that I have so many shawls and so many, basically so many shawls that are different colors, that if I needed something if I needed something to go over it, I would be able to wear just about any one of my shawls. So I got this. Now these skeins are a little bit larger than the other skeins, so I only needed 5 skeins of this, which was great. But I did end up ordering the collage corntastic yarn because I just really loved that sweater in that yarn. So I might end up making 2 of those sweaters. We'll see how I like this yarn with it. But this is what I got at that yarn shop. So that was our trip to the local yarn shop, the local yarn shop. Now, as I mentioned, I had not planned on buying much at Maryland Sheep and Wool, but I did have a plan. There was a couple of booths that I did want to stop into and potentially buy stuff. One of them being Miss Babs. Well, Miss Babs, we went to Miss Babs first thing in the morning. That's actually where I had arranged to meet up with my friends. And when I got there, the line was out the door. I mean, literally out of the barn and around the corner. And at that point in the day, I was not ready to be standing in line or anything. Now, I think most of those people were standing in line to get the festival colorway, and I don't even know what it was, but that wasn't like a major priority for me. So when my friends were done shopping there, we just moved on, and I didn't really even look in the booth. I know I can get Miss Babs anytime I want. I can order it online and have it shipped. So it wasn't that big of a heartbreak for me. The other two booths that I wanted to stop at while I was there were Into the World and Ellen Half Pint Farms. Now, Into the World, you know, I've been in the Fiber Club for at least 2 years. And just before I left for Maryland Sheep and Wool, I did have to contact Chris and tell her I need to cancel my club membership because I probably have 2 years of fiber, minus maybe 2 months that I haven't spun yet. And I just thought, you know what, I need to stop with the fiber for right now, at least the monthly club, to, you know, get some of that spun up first. But I absolutely love Chris's colorways, and I'm just good. I know I'm going to be kicking myself saying I should have just stayed in the club. What I probably should have done is switch to the yarn club, but obviously I do not need more yarn. But because I was seeing her at the festival, I did want to go stop in her booth and buy some yarn. So I did. I bought 3 different yarns, 3 different colorways, and I believe they're all different bases too. These 2 are the same. I bought 2 of the 75-25 superwash merino nylon, and then 1 of the 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon. So, and more than likely, I probably have these colorways in fiber as well, but I'm not sure. So this is the first one. This is End of Innocence. Is it gonna focus? Focus. Anyway, this is the colorway. It's beautiful. It's got the purple in the middle. Oops, I didn't want to take that off all the way. And then it's got the orange on the one end and the green. So I love that. And then this is the second one that's 75% 25 merino nylon. And we've got the blue. And this is actually, this tip here is almost a little purple. But on the camera there, it's not really, the purple is not really coming out. It's more just, it looks, on the camera, it looks like more of a blended blue. And then there's a little bit of turquoisey color in the middle in here. And then the green. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. Shh. Go lay down, Peanut. And then this is the superwash merino cashmere nylon, which feels yummy. And this is Zorg. And then this is the colorway. Oh, the other one was Cerility. So, and this is the other one with the green and the cream and then the purples at this end. So again, I just absolutely love Chris's colorways. And I'm not sure, I know she has the Yarn Club that has the same colorways as the fiber. But I haven't really been to the website because I get her yarn every month, so, or her fiber every month, so I haven't really been to the website shopping. Plus, again, I don't really need yarn, so I don't need to go to the websites to go shopping. So I'm not sure if you can buy these colorways on her website, or if you can only get them at the festivals and events or whatnot. I'm not really sure. So that was that purchase. And then I went to Ellen Half Pint Farms. Now, let me tell you that when I went to Rhinebeck 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? I stopped at her booth and I saw all kinds of lovely yarns, and I wanted so badly to buy yarn. Now, I think most of what she sells are sweater quantities, and it's a big investment because it's anywhere from $125 to $145, depending on the yarn, how much you need, what have you. So every time I've seen her at a festival, I've looked at the colorways, I've taken pictures of the colorways. I can't decide what color I want. It's a big investment, and to make a snap decision on a colorway, I just could never really do it. So every time I've seen her anywhere, I haven't bought any yarn, and I thought, oh, well, I'll just order it when I finally decide what colorway, you know, because I have pictures. I've taken pictures of the different yarns and the different colorways and whatnot. And so I did that again this year. And I was almost ready just to kind of walk away and say, oh, I'll come back later. And then we happened to be standing in the booth talking, because more people were coming up, you know, that were meeting up with us and friends and whatnot. So we were all kind of standing there chatting a bit while we were browsing. And across the booth, I saw the perfect yarn for me. And I'm going to show you the pattern first, because I know that you'll be so distracted by the yarn when you see it that you won't even pay attention to the pattern. But it was a kit, and it's for this jacket. Now, this picture, I can tell you, does not give the jacket any justice at all. I think the picture is not a very good showing of the jacket. But it is a classic kind of jacket. It's kind of a linen stitch, and it's definitely a piece that I would be able to wear over the long haul. And the jacket was not what caught my eye. It was the yarn. But the jacket in the booth was kind of grays, browns, and blacks. Okay, I think it had a little bit of cream in it. But this is what I saw. Is that not amazing? I am going to have so much fun knitting this sweater. It's going to be so incredibly fun. I saw this yarn and I'm like, that is what I want. I did not even have to think twice about it. I saw it and I'm like, should I buy it now or should I come back and get it later? And you know, the girls were standing there talking to me and they're like, you might as well just get it now because you never know, it might not be there later. And are these not my colors or what? I mean, really. I couldn't pass it up. I mean, the fact that I knew I wanted to buy yarn from her, and in the past I had not bought yarn because I couldn't make my decision up. But please, I mean, come on. How could I not just buy that? And because the way that the linen stitches, I haven't even really read the pattern, but because of the way the linen stitches, ooh, fiber in my nose, it's gonna, all these colors are gonna blend together and it's gonna be an amazing jacket. I can't wait to get it started. I probably won't start this until much later in the summer, like almost close to fall, because I'm really not going to be able to wear it anytime soon. And I believe that this pattern, this kit, will go up to size 48. And I don't need it to go up that high, but But yeah, it's gonna be an amazing project. I can't wait to get it started, and I know that you guys are gonna love seeing it emerge with all those fabulous colors. This is why I need to have some of this, because I'm a little crazy like that. I can't wear everything like this. So that is my stash enhancement for this episode. I want to quickly talk about an app of the week. Now, I told you that my mom and I spent all day on Sunday when I was visiting her with our iPads and our knitting and watching movies. And one of the games that she turned me on to while I was there was a game called Township. And it's kind of like Farmville and Heyday and all of those. And I don't know, it's just a brainless type of game. But it has helped relieve some of the stress, again, like Sims, this week. And I have been playing it quite a bit. And I like it. And one of the things in the game is that you raise sheep and they produce wool, and then you turn it into yarn, and then you can turn it into a sweater. So I think that is so much fun. And if you play Township and would like to be friends with me on Township, you can, I think you have to do it through Game Center. Is how you get connected, and I'm not exactly sure if you have to friend me on Game Center or something. If you know, what are you doing? If you know how to do that on Game Center to be friends, I think I am signed up through Facebook, but I think you can still connect to me through Game Center as well. And Game Center is on the iDevices. But that has been my other fun pastime this last couple of weeks, in addition to Sims. Upcoming events. Well, I've got Zombie Knitpocalypse next month in June, and I can't wait. It's going to be, I'm leaving here, I think it's on June 18th, and we're driving out. I'm actually picking up 2 people along the way, and then arriving late in the evening on the 18th of June. It's going to be a long drive for me. I think it's something like 10.5 hours of drive time, not including stops and what have you. So it's going to be a long, long day. But hopefully when I'm sharing it with knitting friends, it won't seem quite so long. So that is in June, and I'm very excited to be going. I think there's like over 100 people going to the retreat. So that'll be very exciting to go and get to, spend some quality time with all those knitters. The other thing is VKN. I've talked about it for the last month or so, saying that I wanted to get the VKN started again after Knitopia, and I was getting ready to put it on my calendar to let you guys know that I was going to do one next weekend, but then I had to stop because we finally got the floor for our bedroom upstairs. The bedroom that seems like it will never end. We're still doing construction. But we finally did get the floor. We decided to get hardwood floors, and we are going to be installing them. Currently, the floors are in the bedroom and the living room, and all in boxes. There's like 16 boxes of hardwood floor spread out through my house. And we would have started it this weekend, but Steve has to go and get his trailer, so we are not doing it this weekend. We are going to start it next weekend. I have no idea how long it's going to take us, and I'm actually thinking that we might be putting it off another week, because I think it might be a good idea for us to finish putting up the closet systems before we put the floor down. Because if you're working in the closet with the closet system and you happen to drop a tool on the new hardwood floor, that's not going to go over very good. So I might have to talk Steve into putting up the closet systems before we put the floor down so that there's no accidents. Cody, can you come up here, please? So there's no accidents with dropping of tools or what have you. So there's still no VKN scheduled. And I have not scheduled one for June yet. I want to see how it goes with the flooring. I think it might take us 2 weekends to get it done because we're going to be, it's a large area. It's like over 300 square feet up in the loft area of our house. And we're going to be moving furniture at the same time because there is furniture up there that we are not going to move out to put the floor down. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to move all the furniture to one side of the room, do the one side of the room, move it carefully so that we don't scratch the floor, onto the hardwood floor that we have down, finish the floor and whatnot. So I think it's going to be quite a bit of a process to do it. So I think it's going to take us 2 weekends plus. I know how my husband works, and it's really not on my schedule. So I'm planning on 2 weekends, and hopefully, if everything goes perfectly, we'll be done in 1 weekend. But you never know. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have a VKN now before Zombie Knit Apocalypse, because then, you know, I'll be away for that as well. So let's just kind of play it by ear. The VKNs will start again, and the first VKN that we have will be either on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Probably a Saturday morning, only because I've been doing my long runs on Sunday. So I might need, I might not be available to do a VKN on a Sunday morning, depending on when I'm doing my run. So that's what's coming up. So we have some drawings. We have drawing for the Knit Your Stash chatter thread. We have a drawing for the Knit Your Stash challenge finished object thread. And we have an iTunes drawing. Now, we also have a read-along that has been completed now. However, I still haven't read the thread, so I'm going to put off doing the drawing until next time that I record. And then that way, if anybody else has not finished reading the book or finished the chat or whatever, then they still have time to enter for that one. So the read-along drawing will be done the next time that I record. What are you two getting in trouble with over there? So, we have an iTunes comment. And I did put the new people in here. There was a couple new comments from last time. So they are in this envelope, this baggie that I use for all my iTunes comments. And I'm just going to kind of mix them up in there. And I'm going to do a drawing. Draw one name for a pattern of your choice, $7 or less. One piece of paper. And it goes to Rockin' Granola. So if that is you, if it's going to focus, I can't see it's focusing. So if that is you, then please get in touch with me and let me know which pattern of your choice, $7 or less, that you would like to receive on Ravelry. So that's our iTunes comment drawing for this month. And if you've made a comment in iTunes with either Canada or the US, I automatically put you on the list. If you make a comment in any other country, you need to contact me to let me know that you've put in a comment for Knitting Blooms, and I will go to that country and look and verify that there's a comment, and then I will put your name in here as well. And that's a drawing that I do every single month, well, most months, because I don't think I did one last month, because it's been almost a month since I recorded last. Normally I would do it once a month, but because of the schedule, the recording schedule lately, it hasn't been every month, but it's most months, but your name is always in there until we stop doing the drawing or until your name gets picked. So now we have the Knit Your Stash Challenge drawings. Now what I did this time was for the chatter thread, I chose the numbers from the last time I drew till present. And that's how I'm going to do the chatter thread from now on. So it's only going to be for the last month or however long it's been since I did the drawing last time. So this time it was for post 263 to 367. So there's about 100 posts in there. And I haven't had a chance to read any of those either, so I'm going to have to go back and read those. But the winner goes to number 348, and that is Caterpillar. So, and that is Kate. So congratulations, Kate. You have won a pattern of your choice of $7 or less on Ravelry. So get in contact with me, and I will send that off to you as soon as you let me know which pattern you would like to receive. And then the finished objects. The finished objects, I'm going to do all of use all of the posts every single month for as long as we run this challenge to the end of the year. So there was between 0 and 139 this time. And the winner is number 104, and that goes to Bunnyfish, which is Heather. So congratulations, Heather. You have won also a pattern of your choice of $7 or less. So get in contact with me, and as soon as I hear from you, I will send the pattern off to you. So I'm enjoying the knit along, the Knit Your Stash Challenge. I have kind of scanned through the finished objects and seen what people are doing, but I do want to go back and get into that chatter thread and see what everybody is chatting about. And speaking of chatter threads, I want to get in there and check out the chatter thread for the read along as well. I did finish my book this past weekend. I ended up having to listen to it on audiobook rather than finish reading it because I was just not getting to it. Now, mind you, if I had not been playing Sims, 6 hours a day, probably not that much, but if I had not been playing Sims as much as I was, I probably would have had plenty of time to read and finish the book. But I was playing Sims instead. So I want to get in there and finish reading those comments as well and see what your thoughts were and, see if anybody else figured things out. I quite enjoyed the book, reading it. The first part, I read the first part and I listened to the second half. So I quite enjoyed it. I think I missed a little bit there at the end, that I probably, if I went back and listened to the last 3 chapters again, I probably, resolve what I think I missed. But overall, I really enjoyed the book, and I have already purchased the second book and the third book in the series, and I believe I have the audiobooks for both of them as well. So I'm looking forward to reading those as well. But I did want to mention that I would like to do another read-along because I really enjoyed, the chatter, the stuff that I did read, and I know that I'm going to enjoy reading what everybody has posted already. So what I would like to do is I'm going to set up another poll. I'm going to take some of the same books that I had from before and put those in, and then maybe add in a few new books as well, and let you guys choose which book we're going to read next. And I will probably put the next book in that the series after The Last Woolen Testament, just in case, because I know a lot of you, we just read it for the read-along, so if you enjoyed the book, maybe you want to continue and read the second book as well. So we'll see how many people, what books you guys want to read. I'm going to kind of stay in that same genre, mystery, cozy mystery type of genre, because it seemed like a lot of people liked that kind of genre, so that's where I'm going to stick with the books for right now. So hopefully by the time you see this, I will have set up the poll and we can start looking at that. And I also wanted to get your advice about how how long we did the read along this time. For me, I felt like I kind of lost sight of the read along. I don't know if it was because I just got busy the last couple weeks and I wasn't able to keep up with the reading or what, but I kind of felt like I just kind of it went too quick. I don't know. So I guess what I'm asking is, did you guys feel that way? Do you have any other suggestions about how to determine how many pages or how many chapters to read each day or week or what have you? If you've done read-alongs before with other groups, how do they do it? I haven't really done a lot of read-alongs, so I don't know, if they have, like how I did. I said, you read chapters 1 through 3 and then, or 1 through 6, and then we're going to discuss those chapters until we get through the other chapters and so forth. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. Please let me know what you think. I'm open to suggestions. I just really enjoy chatting with you guys about different stuff other than just knitting, and the reading is fun to chat about and find out, especially when we're talking about a mystery book that we can kind of speculate, together and try and figure out who did it before we get to the end of the book. So let me know your thoughts on that. And that's all I've got for you this week. I think it was a pretty long show, but considering the last couple of times that I recorded were short shows, and then I didn't record last week, there was a lot to share with you this time. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to chat with you again in the next couple weeks. So bye for now.